Now, new cars can be very, very expensive these days, so I personally reached out to Volkswagen and asked about their new T-Cross. So at around £24,000, is it going to be the most value for money and easiest to park? Well, there's only one way to find out in this Volkswagen T-Cross review. So there's no getting around the colour on this one, and I'll come to that in a minute, but I kind of wanted to just touch on the price first. So the price of the Volkswagen T-Cross starts at around £24,125 and can range up to about £28,715. Purely depends on the trims and packages and that sort of thing. Now the one I have here today is not a top of the line one. This one is a Volkswagen T-Cross Match, 1 litre, 115 PS and a manual. So yes, surprisingly, you can still buy a manual in the Volkswagen T-Cross range, because there are a lot of car manufacturers these days that have just gone auto only, which I'm a huge fan of, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it is nice just to drive a manual. And yeah, obviously had to adjust to that pretty quickly this week, having driven an automatic for a while. But yeah, if you're after a manual, Volkswagen T-Cross do still have manual gearboxes. Now, when it comes to the design, you'll notice, if you're familiar with a lot of Volkswagen's models, they do have a model called the Touareg. And the Touareg has a kind of more squared off, boxier SUV look, and they've taken some design elements from that high-end car, so Volkswagen's top-end model, and brought them down right into the Volkswagen T-Cross. So yeah, quite nice. Now, one thing I said I was going to talk about was the colour. Now, you can't miss this, no matter where you park in the car park. I think over the past week I've seen maybe 3 or 4 yellow cars, myself included. So yeah, you are going to stand out quite a lot if you opt for this particular colour. And for those of you wondering what the name is, well, Volkswagen actually asked, I think, a lot of people in the UK. They put almost like a poll out to the general public, and the final name was voted Rubber Ducky Yellow. So yeah, this is Rubber Ducky Yellow. Cool. I mean, it's not my preferred choice of colour for a car, but I think I'd go for something a little bit more subtle, but maybe grey or silver or black or something. But hey, if you're after bright colours, Rubber Ducky Yellow. When it comes to trims and packages, I don't typically run through all the different packages available, just because it can vary over time and it will vary around the world. But there is one thing I wanted to point out. So if you're shopping for a Volkswagen T-Cross and you're looking at choosing a brand new one, for example, you may see these trim lines called Life, Match, Style and the R line, which is their kind of top one. One main difference was, if you look at the Life one, the standard one, and then look at the Match one, it's only £175 difference. And for the price, you get metallic paint, privacy glass, keyless access, and a rear parking camera as well. For £175 for all of that, I think that's quite a good deal, to be honest. So just thought I'd mention it. It's only £175 difference between the Life and the Match. So worth noting. Now guys, we've still got loads more to go through, so we need to go through the boot, the rear seats, the front seats, and of course the drive as well. But if you're loving the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got loads of different types of content on my channel, from reviews, first impressions, announcements, and even tips and tricks. Yes, there are tips and tricks for a Volkswagen as well. So if you own a Volkswagen, make sure to click on the pop-up banner up above, or even have a look in the description down below. There are some cool tips and tricks that you ought to know. Anyway, on with the video. Now, when it comes to the boot is manual, so worth noting it's not electric, but I wouldn't describe it as heavy or anything. Now, when it comes to boot size, it's 385 litres up to around about 455 litres. It depends whether or not you do something to the actual floor here. So if you grab hold of this, you can actually lower the floor down just like that. Now, if you fold the seats down, it'll go to about 1,281 litres, just like this. It is a 60-40 split on the rear seats. And speaking of the rear seats, let's check them out now. Now, having used this car for the past week, I have got that set up very comfortably for my driving position. But having said that, I will say there is more room in here than I initially thought. Certainly when you look outside the car, it doesn't look like there's going to be that much room. But yeah, there is a surprising amount of headroom in here. I can get about 3-4 fingers just above my head, which is quite cool. And I could move that further forward if I needed to, just as like a temporary thing. But yeah, It's, I said there's more room in here than I thought. There's 2 USB-C ports down there as well for charging phones, which is quite good. The actual seat comfort as well. These seats are actually softer than my own daily car, which is quite nice. I haven't noted any options for leather seats or anything, unless I completely missed that, but these are fabric seats. Again, they're quite soft actually, so I really don't have any complaints on that at all. In terms of the build quality on the doors, I'd say pretty much everything on here is plastic. But having said that, it is kind of to be expected on cars under £30,000. But everything has been as tight as a drum, solid as anything over the past week. So I've not heard any rattly panels or anything. So all round on that front is pretty good. And that's all kind of storage area there, and I didn't note that there was there's no centre armrest there either. One other really cool thing is you can actually move the rear seat bench forwards and backwards, which I literally just found out. Yes, there is a lever underneath here and you can move it forwards and backwards. Right guys, so at the front seats, let's give you a little tour. So I think we should start here and kind of branch our way over this way. So in here we have a little bit of storage space just in there. This is also adjustable, which is quite good, so you can bring this up and it can lock in a specific location like that. So pretty good. I think I had it about there. 2 cup holders in the middle there, so again, always good for cup holders. Handbrake. Now surprisingly with this one, I've seen obviously a lot of new cars, and a lot of them do have electric handbrakes, you know, like the little switch, but weirdly in this one it's good old-fashioned handbrake. So hey, if you're used to that and familiar with that, then should be no change on there. Gear stick, of course, everyone knows what the gear stick is. 1 to 6 gears, so fairly self-explanatory on that one. Engine start-stop button just down there. 12-volt socket there. USB port and is that USB? Oh no, 2 USB-C ports there. So yeah, pretty good for plugging in phones, CarPlay, that sort of thing, although it is wireless as well, but we'll get onto the multimedia system in a minute. Now when it comes to climate control, these are all controlled using touch just down here. However, at least it's not on a screen or anything, but yes, you do have to touch them just like this to change, and whichever way you want the air to go. Heated seats, if you opt for those, are also touched just on the side here like that. Then up here is the multimedia system, so we'll go through that in a moment. Very quickly, the steering wheel. So the steering wheel is all buttons. Volkswagen have basically switched back over to physical buttons on the steering wheel, which is pretty good. On most of their models now, there's still a few that are touch, but T-Cross is all buttons. And there's various different things on here you can do. You can, of course, customize this screen in here, which again is all digital, which is really good to see. It's kind of in this like square format just here, with the temperature gauge on the left hand side and fuel on the right hand side. Then we come around to the doors. Again, in terms of build quality, I'd say there still are plastics, but there are a few elements of kind of squidgy leather materials in places, which is good. So I'll say the kind of feeling of plastic is more so in the back, but up front you've got these kind of like weaving designs here, which is quite nice, and then this is all like squidgy leather, and even on the door here as well. So yeah, more premium materials used up front. Now when it comes to the multimedia system, again, it's very easy to use. I've used a mix of the Volkswagen multimedia system and of course Apple CarPlay, and tested out Android Auto wired and wireless. So yes, it is wireless as well in this car. So Volkswagen multimedia system side first. So you'll notice here literally top left radio media, and then on the right hand side nav and app, and then underneath phone, voice, car, media. So these are all shortcuts for using the different elements on the screen, but of course you can just kind of touch on the screen and go straight to the thing you want. But these little shortcuts on the side do make it a little bit easier to get to things just a tap away. And I said I have used this sat-nav for the past week as well, in addition to Apple CarPlay, and yeah, it's been very easy to use. Tap on where you want to go just on the top, type in where you want to go, so we can do the next town across, for example, town centre, and start.
Please drive to the route shown.
Then the lady on the sat-nav will tell you where to go. Now, if you need to cancel it, top left is how you cancel it. And yeah, it's just super easy to use, and yeah, no complaints on that one. Again, it's actually very responsive as well, so zooming in, moving around the screen is just super easy. Even going onto radio as well is super easy to use. These are all the presets here I've noticed, so kind of all the favourites you can have. But then if you go to station list on the bottom, this will list everything that there is, everything from A to Z. And of course this car has Bluetooth as well, but if you want to, you can connect your phone via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, either via the cable just down here, the 2 USB-C ports, or you can do it wirelessly as well. Again, use both and it's been absolutely flawless. But in terms of everything else on the multimedia system, it's very easy to use, it's very responsive, so no complaints on that one at all. Probably will use Apple CarPlay because I'm just a fan of that personally. Right, I think now is the time to take this one out for a drive and go through all the different types of engines and gearboxes that are available as well. Now guys, as I said, I have been using this car for the past week, so obviously using a manual has taken me back a bit because it's been a while since I've driven a manual, but it's like learning to ride a bike. You don't actually forget, it's just learning where the biting point is on the clutch again, and once you've done a couple of journeys, you do get used to it again, so it's pretty easy. And of course, yeah, the handbrake being manual as well, that has been a while, that has been a few years, because normally they've been, well, the ones I've driven since then have been electric. But one thing I wanted to touch on were the engines. Now, a lot of the Volkswagen engines are only a 1 litre, and you might think, that's going to be like really underpowered. But actually, I have not found this to be underpowered. I mean, it's not the fastest car out there. It's only 115 PS, this particular one I'm driving. There is another one just underneath this, but we'll go through the entire list of them in a second. But yeah, I wouldn't have described this as underpowered. It still has enough go, you know, to get you out of trouble or something like that, or for a planned overtake. It doesn't feel underpowered. Now, all Volkswagen T-Crosses are front-wheel drive. I haven't seen any options for Volkswagen's 4Motion tech. So 4Motion is what you can sometimes find on some engine variants in other models, which is like their 4-wheel drive systems. But I haven't seen that. It's only front-wheel drive, probably due to the size of the car. It's only kitted out to be a front-wheel drive car. But in terms of the different engines that are available, as I said, it starts at a 1 litre. This is 95 PS and of course manual, 0 to 62 in 11.2 seconds. The one up from that is this one, which I'm driving right now, which is also a 1 litre, but is 115 PS, again manual, 0 to 62 in 10 seconds. But then there's an option for pretty much the same exact thing, but an automatic. I'm not sure if that'll have an automatic handbrake or a manual handbrake like this one, so might need to check with the Volkswagen to be sure on that one. And then above that is a thing called style. So this is where you go onto the other trims, and that's where that other engine basically becomes available. And that one is where the faster engine variant you can get in this one. So that'll be a 1.5 litre, 150 PS, and again that is auto. So that 0 to 62 is going to be about 8.4 seconds. So a little bit quicker, and again, not that you race everywhere, 0 to 62, it's just a measurement of how fast the car is, so pretty good. But yes, handily, just around here is a dual carriageway where I do a lot of driving with reviews of cars, and we can take it up to dual carriageway and motorway speeds, which in the UK is only 70 miles an hour, unlike in Germany you can go a little bit quicker on their autobahns. But yeah, let's test it out. So I'd expect this car to make a little bit more noise going up to motorway speeds, but there we go, we're at 70. I'm not the quickest shifter in the world, I haven't driven manual for a while, so don't time that. Maybe try again in a bit, but yeah, so we're doing 70 here. We'll get over in the faster lane in a second. But one thing I also wanted to test as well, say we're doing 60, what is this car like accelerating up to 70? So let's go catch this car up here and go. See, that's what I mean, it's not slow, it picks up the pace pretty quickly. I wouldn't describe this engine as sluggish at all. And the ride quality as well, even motorway speeds as well, is great. It's very, very smooth. I guess a few of you sometimes do ask me in the comment section about, would you buy this car? I personally need probably something a little bit bigger, just because I have a hatchback at the moment, and although this does have more headroom than my current car, we have a dog at home and he's growing, so he can just about fit in our current car, so I probably would opt for something a little bit bigger. But having said that, it is a very spacious car and it drives beautifully. Now, there is also one thing I do want to test, which I don't think I've actually found a hill to do this, so I'll go find one now. But I want to test to see if this car has any form of auto hold kind of features, or unless you actually have to use the handbrake to kind of balance on a hill. I think you probably will have to do that. Maybe if you go automatic, of course, then it might have an auto hold switch or feature or something, but I just want to find it and test it very quickly. Okay guys, well, I found a hill, so I remember doing some videos on this hill a little while ago when I was doing cruise control and speed limiter on another car, but yeah, here we go, come to a complete stop. Will it hold? Ah, it will, it does. That is impressive. I assumed it wouldn't, but I'm guessing if you put it on the handbrake and take that off, yeah. So if you're just using the foot brake and the clutch, so my left foot's on the clutch and on the right foot's on the brake at the moment, take it off and it'll hold. I wonder what the time limit is if you hold it. So foot off the brake. So it's like it's like about a second or two. Gives you time to get the biting point. So look at that. Hill start as well. I haven't driven a manual for a long time. Come on. Cool, well that's surprising. I didn't think there would be a like a hill hold kind of thing, but that's good. So if you use the handbrake, you're doing it manually, but if you don't use the handbrake, it will do like a hill hold for like a second or two. So that's good to know. Well guys, I think we'll end it there. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you saw. And until next time, we will see you then.